Tabe has just released Arc 7 Chapter 59, and this video will be a summary of the chapter. Highly recommend you check out my Arc 7 Chapter 58 summary. Anyways, let's begin. Hey Taritta, I have been chosen to be a stargazer and given my destiny. This was stated to Taritta by another Shudrakian woman. Her name was Mariuli. Again, this is a new character, so the actual pronunciation may be incorrect. For the sake of this video, I'll just call her Maru. The Shudrak all lived together in the village of the Budheim jungle, so they were all like family. However, Taritta and Maru were soul sisters. They were born on the same day and at the same place. In the Shudrakian tribe, it is believed that those born on the same day have a connection between their souls. This connection is considered stronger than blood relations, than your parents or siblings. Holly and Kuna were also soul sisters. Maru had peach-colored tips on her hair and she was very beautiful. Maru was gentle and kind, and Taritta would often ask her for advice regarding Zelda and becoming the future chieftain of the Shudrakian tribe. Maru wasn't going to tell Taritta that she was a stargazer, however Maru said she did it because they were soul sisters. One day Zelda and Taritta were on their way back from hunting, and Maru was singing a song unknown to them. The Shudrakians were split into two roles: hunters who hunt, and guardians who raise the children and defend the village. Maru was a guardian, Zelda and Taritta were hunters. Maru was good at the guardian role, and Taritta was good at the hunting role. Either way, Zelda praised the song that Maru was singing. Others like Kuna and Holly also praised her. However, they didn't notice the anomaly of the song, as it was not a song of the Shudrakian village. Taritta confronted Maru, wondering if the stars told her about the song, and Maru states that the other stargazers taught her the song. As the days passed, Maru was sharing unknown songs, unknown stories, and fulfilling her unknown destiny. This Maru was unknown to Taritta. Usually she would always ask Taritta for advice, even for the birth of Maru's child. She confided in Taritta. Yet now Maru was always looking at the sky. She prioritized stuff other than Taritta or her child or the people of the Shudrakian village. Someone, not the stars, was controlling Maru. Taritta, standing there in the dark, looks at the sky and asks the stars if they're deceiving Maru. Taritta, who was Maru's soul sister, could not hear the stars or any voices. With that, Taritta shot an arrow at the brightest star in the sky. Taritta was agitated. Who should she talk to? Zelda, who was her sister, was the head of the Shudrakian tribe. Maru was going against the teachings of the Shudrakian people, so talking to Zelda would make it so that Maru would get kicked out of the group, and Taritta did not want to lose her soul sister. What should I do, Taritta? I'm a stargazer. And like that, the nightmares Taritta had, the events of that day began. The scene changes. The great calamity is rampaging. Lewis, who has no affiliation to chaosflame, confronts it. Not only that, Medium holding a barbarian sword, Owl who's holding a blue dragon sword to his neck, Kathma who's using insects, and the people of chaosflame are all confronting the calamity. All of them have their own reasons for doing so. Importantly, the great calamity is not a living thing. It just chips away at the world. It doesn't have brains or anything to respond or change what it does. Owl travels across the debris, giving out orders. The great calamity attacks anything near it, and if it has nothing to attack, it will continue to expand. Therefore, it's easy to attack it and waste its time. If the calamity was a living thing, then it would have adapted. Yorna tells everyone to get back, and the earth shatters, splitting the great calamity in two. However, it reforms shortly after. Yona tells everyone to fall back again, and that they'll use Abel's plan to blow up the city, and Yona states that if it doesn't work, then she should be made the queen, and then she can blow up the entire country to stop the calamity. With that, Yona said no matter what, she would rebuild the city of chaosflame, and Medium shouted out, giving the group the go-ahead to initiate the plan. The scene changes. Maru would share her unknown stories with the people of the Shudrak tribe. However, the other Shudrakians never did question the source of her knowledge, and Maru only ever told Taritta that she was a stargazer. There are vows and secrets that can only be made between soul sisters. Even Kuna and Holly most likely have secrets together that they've never told anyone else. One day though, everything changed. "I don't know what to do. I'm a stargazer." Taritta was taken aback, as Maru was vomiting blood. Maru was never a strong person. In fact, when she was younger, she often slept all the time. Over time though, it decreased as she became an adult, but even now, the disease was eating away at her. Maru was vomiting blood. It was obvious to anyone her life was being extinguished. Mizelda told Taritta to spend time with Maru. After all, they were soul sisters, and that was her destiny. Everyone left Taritta alone with Maru. After all, they were soul sisters. Therefore, Taritta would be the one to watch Maru's death. Maru's daughter leaves the room, believing that she would see her mother the next day, but Taritta knew that Maru was on her deathbed. Maru asks Taritta what she should do, as she didn't fulfill her destiny. Taritta was getting agitated. Instead of confronting her impending death, she was still talking about the stars and her destiny. Taritta shouts at Maru, stating that there's no such thing as fate, that Maru is a Shudrakian woman, therefore she is born as a Shudrak and she will die as one. However, Maru said she wanted a meaning to her birth. In other words, she was casting away her Shudrak ties, her daughter, everything, and this hurt Taritta. So Taritta put a dagger to Maru's throat. Taritta never planned to harm her, just scare her back to her senses. Taritta says that she is Maru's soul sister, and Maru says that she had Taritta, and with that she grabbed Taritta's hand and dragged the dagger into her chest. Taritta panics and Maru says that Taritta has a role to play. Maru states that in 1,000 nights, Taritta will meet a traveler. The traveler is on the side of the great calamity that will destroy the land, and Taritta must kill him. Maru then said, "Black hair, black eyes, kill him," as she slurred her words. With that, Maru died as Taritta called out to her. Taritta left the hut, but as she left, she spotted a small shadow, someone who shouldn't have been there. Perhaps she was worried about her mother, or just had a premonition due to her young age. Utakata stared at Taritta, who was stained with her mother's blood and had tears streaming down her cheeks. The scene changes. Yona told her people to abandon the city. She wanted to mourn, but she stated that as long as they live, they can witness the birth of a new city of magic. As they retreated, the great calamity increased in size, doubling over and over. Yona was amazed at Ao's direction in minimizing casualties. Medium is about to get hit, and Kathma saves her. Yona thinks about what's happening. With the soul marriage technique, she can potentially fight off the great calamity. For some reason, her soul is 1,000 times larger than other people's. It's not something that Yona wished for, but it helped her get to where she is today. Yona looks towards Abel, who is far away overlooking the situation. He has cold, emotionless eyes, and Yona knows that Abel understands the sacrifices needed to stop the calamity. As Yona and Ao look at the calamity, they see Lewis trying to save the boy. She was covered in dirt and dripped with sweat. Yona decided that there was no way to save the boy. It was painful for her, but she knew Lewis was attempting to save him. Kathma says that they need to go get the girl, and Al tells Kathma to F off. And Kathma is of course angry at Al and glares at him. Al shouts out, saying damn, 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 stating why does he have to suffer like this, and then he says that he hates his brother, referring to Subaru. With his shout, Al charged at Lewis, turning in the right directions, almost as if he knew where Lewis would be teleporting to, and he catches her. As Al escapes, he somehow dodges all of the shadows aimed at him with precision. Lewis starts going crazy, trying to reach at the shadows, but Al knocks her out with the back of his sword. As Al runs, he tells Kathma to set up some thorns to block the Great Calamity, and it does protect Al and Lewis from the shadows. Al then calls out to Yorna, and Yorna raises out her hand, a gesture that wasn't needed, and the entire city was crushed and it exploded, and with that the Calamity was engulfed. Even after the explosion, there was a hint of darkness behind the plume of smoke. Yorna wondered what it was. Before Yorna could react, she noticed it wasn't the great disaster she failed to kill. It was Tanza, who appeared from a broken inn and ran past her. The scene changes. Utakata states that her mother stabbed herself to death. Looking at the scene, Taritta was covered in Maru's blood, still holding the bloodied dagger. Anyone looking at it could tell that Taritta killed Maru. However, Utakata denied that Taritta killed her mother. Those who kill their kin will not return to the same earth that their ancestral spirits go to. This is what the Shudrakians believe. Those who break that rule are seen as defiled. However, Mizelda knew from the wound that Maru stabbed herself. Mizelda would never have protected Taritta because she was a Shudrakian amongst the Shudrak people. Taritta would not be blamed for Maru's death. The Shudrakians believed that Maru most likely wanted to die to escape the illness tormenting her body. However, Taritta blames herself for Maru's death. Despite this, Taritta was informed of her heavenly destiny. Maru never really spoke about her mission herself, only when she was on her deathbed did she speak about it. Taritta thought about the destiny. 1,000 nights, a black-haired, black-eyed traveller would appear. Would killing them avert the tragedy? Maru found life meaningless if she didn't fulfill her destiny. However, Taritta didn't believe that life was meaningless. With that, she clenched her teeth and wished for the stars to shatter. Because Maru was gripped with regret and despair, she will never ever find peace and will continue to wander the world as a soul. This is a secret that even Utakata didn't know, and a secret Taritta would keep with her. After all, Maru was her soul sister, so she would keep this secret. Taritta decided to break Maru's heart by killing the traveller. That day finally arrived, as the man called out to Rem, as he pushed aside the girl to protect her. With that, Taritta takes on the mantle of the hunter and steals herself. She aims at his heart and draws back on the bowstring. As she did, she could hear and feel her soul applauding, burning. The scene changes. When the girl jumped out, the world shattered. The Great Calamity was engulfed with an explosion. Despite the explosion, the Great Calamity survived. Taritta was a bystander, and she watched as she kneeled down on one knee, noting that the Calamity survived. She saw everyone act. Everyone moved to fight the Calamity, but she alone could not face her destiny, unable to face the Calamity. Everyone fulfilled their role, everyone but Taritta, who is unworthy. Everyone fulfills their role. Yorna, who destroyed the city, and Tanza, who was approaching the Calamity herself. Tanza confronts the Great Calamity, and Yorna is trying to stop her. Taritta looks around for a solution, but there isn't anyone, only her. However, someone calls out to Taritta. It is Abel. Abel points to the sky. However, it's obvious he isn't pointing to the sky itself, but pointing to the heavens, the stars. Taritta was being forced to choose her destiny. Taritta pulls on her bow and readies an arrow. If you asked her to save the world, she would do it. From the very beginning, the whispers of the stars had already determined Taritta's destiny. Despite that though, Taritta doesn't want to know about it. The arrow strikes the leg of a woman who was trying to run, knocking her down to the floor. The woman called out for the person approaching the great calamity. With that, the petite girl was swallowed, and then again it was followed by an explosion which wiped out the great disaster, this time finally. And with that, the chapter ends. So, interesting chapter. It was a named chapter. So for those wondering what's going on at the end, Tanza appeared after the first explosion, and she went up to the great calamity. Yorna was trying to stop her, but Taritta shot Yorna in the leg, knocking her to the floor. This allowed Tanza to get swallowed, and Tanza somehow blew herself up, wiping away the great calamity. So the question is, did Subaru survive? And let's see where we go from here. The backstory was okay. So Taritta essentially picked up Maru's mantle of responsibility, essentially. But yeah, I liked the chapter. I thought it was good. Really, really long though. Let me know what you think of the chapter, and thank you for watching.